5 holy days, going back to Islam again, 5 holy days being the 5 pillars of Islam. But there are several things regarding 5 of they do during Ramadan. They spend a month fasting during daylight hours for this month, starting at the crescent moon. According to Islam, the Quran was sent down to the lowest heaven during this month, thus being prepared for gradual revelation by Jibreel to Muhammad. Therefore Muhammad told his followers that the gates of heaven would be opened for the entire month, and the gates of hell, Jahannam, would be closed. And this Johannam, there's a word that's used in a lot of myths and religions that start with J, the big long word. Can't remember it. It's the same thing in all religions. So they're saying the gates will be open. I've done a video on the gates being opened. Check out my other videos. Now they say the whole month, so they're referring to that first month. It'll be spring. That whole month, spring. Everyone looks forward to spring, don't we? And it also reverts to would be closed. This is the Red Sea story in the Bible, where it's opened and then closes back. These are the two skies. This is what happened to the two skies. Southern and Northern Hemisphere, they actually part a little bit, then close back up again. But in a man's spiritual awakening, his claustrum slithers, tight slithers like that, they open a bit. That's another video I've done recently. That's to do with the human brain and spiritual enlightenment. When the pineal, the water around the pineal gland gets released and floods through the system. Let's go back up here. The first 3 days of the next month, of the following month, Shawwal, are spent in celebration and observed as the festival of breaking fast, or Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr. And this was the lunch I was invited to. If you go back to, if you've seen the first video, it's the lunch they had. I was invited to, I never went. They work on the 12-month lunar calendar, not the Gregorian. Ramadan starts on the 12th of April this year, 2021. But last year it was the 23rd, based on the new moon. They seem to think the super slim crescent represents Muhammad's birthplace, not realizing no birth takes place at a new moon, only a full moon. The new moon solar eclipse is the conception, and spiritual birth is the following full moon. A full moon is a fully pregnant woman. That is what it represents. The cycles of the moon work the same way as a woman forms her uterus lining. The skin of the moon forms and deforms as the uterus lining does. No bulge, no baby. No spiritual revelations or awakening. Back up here, I've got 3 days. There's 2.5 days. The sun does not move up or down during the equinox, apparently. The Quran being sent down to the lowest heaven actually means the full moon. Lowest heaven. I've done the videos on the firmament. Water's separated from the waters. The different layers, atmospheric layers, different layer, water pressures, gases, layers. The moon comes all the way down to the bottom. The sun, as Christ, sits at the top. Walks on water at the top. But the moon comes down, all the way down and up again every month. This is why it's regarded as a bit of a hussy. She's a two-timer. She's having a relationship with the humans, Earth, down here, and a relationship with the sun, Ra. So he's spelled it out there. It's a full moon. When it came down at full moon. There's no new moon. They seem to think... Let's go back up a bit here. I've lost my place. They work on the 12-month lunar calendar, not Gregorian. So they work on the moon calendar. Moon's always being reduced back. Moon's back 11 days each year, I think it is. So this year it started on the 12th of April, blah, blah, blah. Last year it was the 23rd, based on the new moon. They seem to think the super slim crescent represents Muhammad's birthplace, not realising no birth takes place at the new moon, only a full moon. Oh, I've done all that. Okay, back down here. The Quran being sent down to the lowest heaven actually means the full moon. It is the full moon that comes close to the earth in its monthly cycle. This is when it has its profound effect on man. The moon has its strongest magnetic force at this time. The trinity involved at the time of spiritual awakening, the Jesus story, is the magnetic power of the full moon at 3 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. When did Christ come? When he was 30 and left by 33. The first week of spring, prior to the equinox. Full moon in Egypt text or myth or Greek mythology or whatever is states that she's a two-timer, the hussy, because she has an affair with the moon and the earth. Where are we going to now? Page 9. Here we go. Like I said, I could have written a book. I probably should. Someone might beat me to it now. They have all my information. So Earth/Jeb. This is the relationship she had, the moon, with the Earth, Jeb, and the sun. Because she travels to and fro as she phases neutral to positive. Her positive attraction to Earth is because Earth is negative. The sun being positive, the moon phases back neutral to not be seen at all. It has dissolved, just like the uterus lining. It is not shadowed by any mystery science fiction BS. If any man studies the termination line of the moon's phases over just a couple of months and thinks it is being shadowed, needs his head read. Also, for a man to track a star in the southern hemisphere with an equatorial mount and think it is the earth moving under him and not the rotation of the southern sky moving around the northern sky just proves he is brainwashed of any common sense. You'd have to be pretty flippin', this is indoctrination, see? To think, track a star and watch it go like this as that revolves around, the southern rotation revolves like this around the northern rotation. The northern one's central, that stays there and turns, doesn't move off its axis. Polaris at the centre, that's the sun, straight up from the sun. But the southern one, it doesn't go like that. It does this turn, but that motion, that turn, there's a full 60 rotation at the same time as it's done the 360 rotation around this way. So it's revolving slowly as it rotates around the northern. But because it's all a projection from the centre back behind us, no matter where you are out south, you'll always get your view at that time of the night. You're getting the same view. You're always getting a picture of Polaris, because it's all back at the centre of the clock, isn't it? Where the hand comes out of the centre of the clock, it's projected out to where you are. That's your basically your arc of horizon. That's your north to south. You're always getting a picture. But him over there at that time of the night, let's say it's night time and you've got about this much. This guy will see it at let's say 6 o'clock at night. This guy's seeing it at 12. They're not going to be exactly the same, because not hard to explain now. But anyway, from here to there, it's revolved this much. It's still central, but it's gone like that a little bit by the time it gets to him. So this star up here has now probably come around to here. That's the only difference. Because the whole thing turns like this as it moves around the northern sky. This, to try and tell some scientist that. Okay, back to Islam. Connection to the equinoxes. Remember, using the 2017 calendar model, again the Gregorian, the Northern Hemisphere equinox had a full moon on the 12th of March in Virgo, which is very significant following a full solar eclipse in February 26, which is also a 17-day gap if you work on the 30-day month for February, not the Gregorian 28 or 29, to go back in time. So instead of our Gregorian 28 or 29. But anyway, a full moon Virgo birth would represent us with a Jesus-like Messiah. Nice, calm, natured person, I would think. Because that's to do with Virgo. That's a Virgo. That might have been, that solar eclipse might have involved Venus. When the September one is Mercury alignment as a third entity, the Trinity. So the March one might have been using Venus, so you're going to get two types. But 40 days does not end, so if you go back to the March story, if you use the March equinox, it doesn't work. So this is the proof here. Because 40 days does not end on the 17th of April, on the second month. Following the March 12 full moon. It finishes on the 20th of April. The moon sign Aquarius, or 21st, is between Aquarius and Pisces. And the new crescent is seen on the 28th of April. Or if you go back and use the 30th of March. This is the crescent Islam would be looking for. The first crescent after the full moon awakening on the 12th following the full solar eclipse. But still, this is 17 days after the Passover, which is what Passover really is. That's the full moon. Full moon passing over, that's your awakening. That's your Passover. That's the Passover you have to remember. That's the Passover you have to celebrate. But don't celebrate the full moon because it keeps changing 11 days before each time. You're going to have to celebrate that day. Otherwise you'll be celebrating way out of season come a year or two later. The full moon passing over on that special night. And 30 days after the start of spring. The real new year. So I would say because Islam celebrate for a month or fast for a month, I should say it would be for the coming of spring, celebrating spring, as all cultures once cherished, but not a whole month. At the end of the day, what religious people are doing is celebrating some other man's divine experience, one they have not gained themselves. In the case of Christianity, I would say 99.99% wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about or truly understand. John 3 verse 5. Go back to that. Putting water on your head doesn't cut it. And in Islam, you are not supposed to go to Mecca on behalf of someone else because it is of no benefit to that person not attending. Yet they are celebrating someone else's event anyway by going to Mecca. Muhammad's. But what day in particular? Muslims turn 5 times daily in prayer towards the Kaaba and walk around the Kaaba 7 times, I would guess the Kaaba is a representation of the primordial stone, which is also connected to man and his pineal gland, that is unearthed, you could say, at his spiritual awakening. The Kaaba is placed near the center of the great mosque in Mecca. Daj, it is the 7th day of the last month. 7th day of the last month of the Islamic year, and ends 5 days later on the 12th. So there's a connection with the Egyptian, isn't it? They've gone 11th is the beginning of their year, and I'm saying 6 plus 5 is 11. These guys have got the 7 plus 5 is the 12th. It is the 5th of the fundamental Muslim practices and institutions known as the 5 pillars. As of 2020 to 21, the Islamic year was 20th of August 2020, August 9th of August 2021. So I would say they are celebrating the same event and combining the beginning of spring and new year and the solar eclipse of the 21st of August. The full moon on the 6th of September, the beginning of spring, is noted as the rising of the sun and S-U-N and S-O-N. Spring brings the beginning of new growth. A son is born on this particular occasion, and it also comes back to September spring, not March northern spring. Hope you understood that. The new year always began at Aries, the full moon, on the 6th of September, ended in Pisces, and entered Aries at 8:01 a.m. So this is the moon. This would be the moon, won't it? So the new year always began in Aries. The full moon on the 6th of September, ended in Pisces and entered Aries. Yeah. That's the beginning of September, isn't it? Beginning of the year. Of the year, way back in the day. The beginning of spring. Now we've got January, the Gregorian calendar. Genesis 1:5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. 6th full moon conjunct Neptune retrograde is at 13 degrees 53. Pisces. So Neptune is between the full moon and the back of the sun. What has that got to do with Genesis? So I was going to look into that further, thinking the evening and the morning were the first day. Evening and the morning were the first day. So back then they could have both come into Aries, gone from Pisces into Aries. So it's still night, so it's early morning, and the next day was the first day of the year into Aries, you see. Search Astrology King. Search Astrology King online. Astrology King. Full moon, 6th of September 2017. Freaky synchronicity is what it was called. Mercury, Venus and Mars all on the picture. Plus Neptune, etc. etc. So this was 12 crowns, 12 stars on a crown or something, Virgo at this time of the year, at that precise moment. Then you have Earth Sky for the 23rd, 9th, 2017, not the 6th. Yeah, so that's slightly different. They talk Earth Sky, they're talking about the 23rd equinox, what happened on the equinox not being a divine moment because they haven't gone back to the 6th. They don't know it, see? Things would have been more aligned on the 6th of September, not the Earth's equinox. Virgo, a woman clothed with sun to the 23rd. Sun in Virgo on the 6th of September. Moon Aquarius into Pisces. Sun Leo into Virgo. Well, I just made some notes here. What have we got here? And then I was supposed to draw a picture. We'll draw a picture. Let's draw a picture. There's the cosmic egg. The sun was here. There's daylight. This is when you get new moon. So we got the moon, new moon. You got Venus, moon, and Mars all lined up there. And back here, oh, this is where you have full moon normally. That's full moon there, behind the sun. That's the breastplate, and that's to do with the black hole spin. It's positive, negative. So, on other occasions, you might have a planet come in here. That'll be the female version. That's the lunar eclipses in here. There's the solar eclipses happen like this. Oh, sorry, yeah, new moon. So you have a new moon, and you have planets lining up the moon. And it'll be out there. The new moon's close into the sun. That's its closest point. We think it's that's the light. It's right it's in the face. It's the same size as the sun. And the little planets there. That's the moon. There's the little planets. Because the new moon is right into the sun. So it's come inside the planets.